Royal titles, late-night lights, and clashing egos. What happens when they collide on live television? Tonight, Jonathan Ross welcomed Prince Harry for what was billed as a warm reunion. Instead, a polite conversation twisted into a tense sparring match, an interview that would leave the ITV studio buzzing with unease. The set glowed amber. Jonathan Ross flashed his trademark grin as the audience clapped in anticipation. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Prince Harry." Harry stepped out from backstage. Dark blazer, crisp shirt, no tie. His expression was composed, his wave brief. The applause landed somewhere between polite and cautious. Jonathan leaned forward with charm. "Harry, welcome back. How are you? How does it feel being in London again?" Harry adjusted his mic, offering only a clipped, "I'm fine." A door cracked open and slammed shut. Ross pressed on. "It's been a while since we've seen you here in the UK. People didn't expect you to return so soon. What brought you back?" Harry's smile thinned. "If people didn't expect it, that's their issue. I'm here for the Well Child Awards. I've supported them for years. They invited me. I came. Simple." A murmur swept the audience, steel wrapped in civility. Ross, still gracious, tried again. "Does being here stir up old memories? Familiar faces, old places?" Harry leaned back, legs crossed. "I'm not here for a nostalgia tour, Jonathan. I'll attend, do my part, and leave. I don't have time to wander the streets remembering what pub I walked past as a teenager." A few chuckles, then silence. Ross shifted gears. "All right then. Life in America. How's it treating you?" Harry's grin flickered, cold, humorless. "Better than here, that's for sure. At least I can drink my coffee without a camera lens in my face. Privacy exists. You might try it," the audience gasped, half delighted, half shocked. Ross reached for levity. "We've all had nosy neighbors, Harry." But Harry didn't laugh. The air thickened. Ross chose delicacy. "Let's talk family. How is married life these days? There have been, well, rumors." Harry's stare cut sharp. "Rumors feed tabloids. If you invited me for gossip, you chose the wrong guest. My marriage is fine. That's all you'll get?" Awkward laughter trickled through the room. Ross bowed his head slightly. "I only ask what people want to know." "Then they can read a newspaper," Harry snapped. "This isn't free therapy." The hush was immediate. Ross pivoted again. "Your book's spare. Some called it raw, others shallow. Looking back, most critics didn't read it." Harry cut in. "They summarize what they don't understand. Sales charts don't measure honesty. People who connected with it don't shout. The rest call it a failure because it makes them uncomfortable." Ross raised a brow. "Still, feedback, doesn't it matter? I connected with those who matter. I don't care about armchair critics." Tension hummed in the studio. Even the band stilled. Ross, silk over steel, pressed on. "Then the royal family. The duties, the institution. What do they mean to you now?" Harry laughed sharply, joyless. "Nothing. They mean nothing. I breathe on my own schedule now." Gasps erupted. "That's a strong word. Nothing." Ross countered. "Expectations never end." Harry snapped. "Journalists have them. The public has them. The royals had them. I stopped living under other people's weight. My shoulders carry different things now." Jonathan sighed softly, still smiling for the camera. "Fair enough. But let's be clear, Harry. This is a conversation show. I ask what people are curious about. And I am answering." Harry shot back, voice frosty. "Maybe too honestly. Funny, isn't it? The moment I give straight answers, people call it disrespect." The studio fell silent. Jonathan flicked a glance at his producer, then turned back to camera with his trademark composure. "We'll take a short break. When we return, more from Prince Harry." The red light on the camera blinked off, but the set didn't relax. The air thickened, crew members shifting uneasily. What had begun as polite chatter was turning into something far more volatile, and everyone sensed it. The easy questions were behind them. The storm was only beginning. When the break ended, the lights flared back on. The applause sign blinked. but the clapping was thinner now. Cautious. Like an audience too close to a fuse. "Welcome back," Jonathan said, forcing brightness into his voice. "We're still here with Prince Harry." A polite clap. Harry gave a single nod. No smile. Jonathan shuffled his cards, then pressed forward. "You mentioned earlier that life in America gives you privacy and freedom. But I think many here wonder, do you miss anything about life in Britain?" Harry smirked, leaning back. "Miss? Not really. I've built a better life, Jonathan. More space, more choice, fewer chains. Why would I miss people who only remember I exist when it's convenient for headlines?" The words cut sharp. Gasps rippled through the audience. "You don't miss the culture, the places, the familiarity of home?" Jonathan asked carefully. Harry gave a short, bitter laugh. "Home is where you're welcome. Britain hasn't exactly rolled out the red carpet, has it? Unless they need a photo op. I'm fine where I am," the audience murmured uneasily. Jonathan's smile stayed fixed, but his voice hardened. "Since you've brought up public opinion, you'll understand if I ask. Many here didn't expect you to return at all. Some even wondered if you'd be allowed back through the gates." Harry leaned forward, his voice edged with arrogance. "Allowed? I don't need permission. I came for the Well Child Awards. I didn't sneak in the back door. If people can't handle me being here, that's their problem, not mine." A nervous laugh scattered through the audience. Jonathan chuckled lightly, smoothing the tension. "Point taken. But you know your return always sparks chatter. Which brings me to your marriage. I know you say it's fine, but the headlines suggest otherwise. Are you and Meghan still as strong as ever?" Harry's jaw locked. His answer came sharp, clipped. "Do you believe everything you read in tabloids, Jonathan? If so, maybe I should start making up stories about you. My marriage is fine. That's all anyone needs to know. Anything else is none of your business." The audience let out a collective, "Oh!" Jonathan stayed even. "I'm not digging for gossip, Harry. But people are curious. And curiosity feeds the beast," Harry snapped. "No, what you want is a headline. And I'm not handing you one. Try another angle." Jonathan inhaled slowly, keeping his composure. "All right. Another angle, then. Let's talk about Spare. It made waves, yes. But some called it brave, others self-indulgent. And it hasn't exactly shattered sales records, has it?" Harry crossed his arms, his face hardening. "You know what? Most people didn't understand the book. They skimmed headlines, ignored nuance. Sales numbers don't measure truth. If people were too lazy to read it properly, that's on them." Jonathan tilted his head. "But surely, as an author, you care how the public received it. Don't you want it to resonate?" Harry let out a cold, humorless laugh. "It resonated with those who matter. The rest? Armchair critics who expect royal gossip dressed up as literature. They miss the point, and I don't lose sleep over people who can't keep up." The audience murmured louder now. Some shifted uneasily in their seats, while others leaned forward, hungry for the clash unfolding on stage. Jonathan's patience was thinning, his voice cut sharper. "So you don't care about public reaction? Or is it simply easier to dismiss criticism than confront it?" Harry's eyes narrowed. "I care about what's real. Criticism based on ignorance isn't real. You can spin it however you like, but I know what I wrote, and I know why." The tension in the room thickened. Jonathan shuffled his cards again, though it was clear he didn't need them anymore. His tone shifted from entertainer to interrogator. "All right, let's go to the heart of it. The royal family. You've said the institution no longer matters to you, yet people argue you've benefited enormously from it. Title, privilege, platform. How do you respond to those who say you can't have it both ways?" Harry scoffed, waving a dismissive hand. "I didn't choose to be born into it. I never asked for it. If surviving that environment left me with benefits, so be it. At least I had the courage to walk away instead of pretending everything was fine." Jonathan's voice dropped lower, steadier. "But isn't it fair to say that even as you claim independence, you still rely on the royal connection? People don't call you Harry Mountbatten Windsor. They call you Prince Harry. Isn't that what sells the books, the interviews, The documentaries? A sharp smirk tugged at Harry's lips. If people can't separate me from a title, that's their laziness, not mine. I didn't ask to be branded, but I won't apologize for using what I was born with. The audience rustled noisily now, sensing they were watching something combustible. Jonathan straightened, composure cracking at the edges. Harry, you keep swatting away every question, as if it's beneath you. But this isn't Buckingham Palace. This is a talk show. You agreed to sit here. Harry leaned forward, voice low and cutting. And I'm answering, Jonathan. Just because you don't like my answers doesn't make them invalid. The two men locked eyes. The studio fell silent, breathless, waiting for someone to break. Jonathan smiled, but it was edged with fire. All right. But your arrogance doesn't play well here. You're not in control of this room. We'll continue, but only if you can manage to answer without sneering at everyone watching. Harry leaned back, arms folded, his expression daring anyone to challenge him. He wasn't about to change. The applause sign blinked overhead. Nobody clapped. The silence was too raw, too charged. Jonathan leaned forward on his desk, fingers steepled, eyes fixed with an intensity that stripped away the genial host. Across from him, Harry sat rigid, jaw set, disdain written across his face. Jonathan broke the silence first, his tone calm but edged with steel. Harry, let me level with you. You've been on this stage nearly half an hour, and every question I've asked, questions the public deserves to hear answered, you've brushed aside with sneers and superiority. Don't you think you owe people a little respect? Harry tilted his head, smirking faintly. Respect? Respect goes both ways. Where was it when I was hounded day and night? Where was it when my wife was torn apart for simply existing? Forgive me if I don't bow to an audience that treated me like a circus act. Gasps rippled through the crowd. A few uneasy chuckles. Jonathan didn't flinch. That may be true, but let's not pretend you didn't profit from that very circus. Book deals, streaming contracts, magazine covers. Your story sells because of the crown you say you despise. You call yourself free, but every reminder that you were once a prince has been cashed in. Harry leaned forward, voice sharp as glass. And what do you suggest, Jonathan? That I crawl back and pretend nothing happened? That I bury the truth because it makes the monarchy uncomfortable? I'm damned if I speak, damned if I stay silent. At least I chose honesty. Jonathan's lips tightened. He dropped his cards flat onto the desk. Honesty is one thing. Arrogance is another. And tonight, Harry, you're not coming across as honest. You're coming across as entitled. The audience erupted in a low, collective murmur. Half gasp, half growl, like a crowd sensing the fight had only just begun. Harry's smirk evaporated. His eyes narrowed, his voice rising sharp with fury. Entitled? You think I'm entitled? I walked away from palaces and privileges people dream of. I gave it all up. For freedom. For my family. Don't lecture me about entitlement. Jonathan leaned back, shaking his head. You didn't give it up, Harry. You repackaged it. You left the palace, yes. But you carried the crown everywhere you went. You wrote about it, filmed it, monetized it. Prince Harry still sells your story. You never really left it behind. The words hit like blows. Harry stiffened, fists clenching on the armrests. You have no idea what it was like. You sit there in your safe little studio and pass judgment. You don't know what it means to wake up every morning to cameras outside your window, to 1,000 lies printed about you before breakfast. Jonathan's voice cut in, sharper now. You're right, I don't know. But I know what people see today. A man who complains about attention while booking primetime interviews. A man who demands privacy while signing deals to spill every private detail. You didn't want freedom, Harry. You just wanted a different stage. The audience erupted, some clapping for Jonathan, others just to release the tension. Harry's face darkened. This is pathetic. I came here to talk, not to be accused of hypocrisy. Jonathan leaned forward, his tone suddenly calm, dangerous. No, Harry. You came here to remind people you're still relevant, and you've done it the only way you seem to know. By sneering, by dismissing, by acting as though every question is beneath you. But here's the truth. You're not above anyone in this room. Not anymore. The studio thickened with silence. Harry's eyes burned. Careful, Jonathan. You're treading into dangerous territory. Jonathan didn't blink. Oh, I know. But let's be honest. You're not a prince anymore. You walked away from the duty, from the respect, and yet you cling to the name because without it, who are you? Just another man in California with a podcast and a mortgage. Gasps swept the crowd, followed by scattered cheers. Harry's lips parted, but no words came. His face twisted between fury and disbelief. Jonathan pressed on, voice iron steady. You act like Britain betrayed you, like the monarchy crushed you. But you've built an entire career out of that betrayal, millions made selling your suffering. And yet, here you sit, sneering, acting as though the world owes you. The sad truth, Harry, is this. People still listen only because of the family you claim to despise. This time the applause was sharp, sustained. Jonathan let the moment hang. Harry's chest rose and fell with ragged breath, his hands trembling against the chair. Jonathan's tone softened, but his words cut deeper. This isn't Buckingham Palace, Harry. It's a television studio. If you can't handle being spoken to like anyone else, maybe you shouldn't be here. For the first time all night, Harry had no retort. His lips pressed tight, his face flushed. The camera zoomed in, capturing the silence, heavy as smoke. Jonathan leaned in, voice low and final. You can't have it both ways. You can't leave the monarchy and still demand its privileges. You can't sell your private life and then demand privacy. And you can't sneer your way through this as if you're untouchable. Because you're not untouchable anymore. The studio held its breath. The once confident prince sat speechless, pinned under the weight of words he could not shake. The words cut deep. Harry's chest heaved, jaw clenched so tight it looked ready to snap. Then suddenly he rose to his feet. The chair scraped violently across the floor, drawing gasps from the audience. His voice shook with fury. You think you know me, Jonathan? You don't. You sit there pretending to be a truth-teller, but you're just parroting the same trash the tabloids have thrown at me for years. I don't need to prove myself to you, or to anyone in this country. Jonathan remained seated, calm as stone. No, Harry, you don't need to prove yourself. But when you sit in this chair, on my stage, in front of this audience, you owe them honesty. You owe them respect. Tonight you've given them nothing but contempt. The studio erupted in murmurs. Some clapped. Others sat frozen, wide-eyed. Harry's face flushed deeper red. You've had your fun, he snapped. But I won't be lectured by a late-night host who has no idea what it's like to live my life. Jonathan struck back without hesitation. And maybe that's the problem, Harry. Maybe the world is tired of hearing about your life when you've squandered every chance to use it for something greater. You say you escaped the crown, but the truth is, you've been hiding behind it all along. Applause crashed over the room, relentless. Harry's eyes darted across the crowd, betrayed by the very people who once cheered his name. His lips trembled, but no words came. Instead, he ripped off his microphone and slammed it onto the chair. This is over. I don't need this circus. He stormed off, fists clenched, shoulders rigid, the fury of a man who had lost control trailing behind him like smoke. Cameras swiveled, capturing every step. Jonathan leaned back, exhaling, then leaned toward the camera with quiet steel. Well, I suppose that's where we'll leave it. Sometimes conversations don't go the way you expect, but that's the risk of honesty. And on this stage, honesty is what we owe you, no matter how uncomfortable it gets. The audience thundered with applause. Some even stood. The moment felt electric, unforgettable. As the credits rolled, one truth was clear. This wasn't just a late-night interview. It was a cultural flashpoint, one destined to dominate headlines, social media feeds, and dinner tables for weeks to come. Prince Harry had come to speak on his own terms. He left in silence, his pride bruised and his image shaken. And Jonathan Ross, calm, unshaken, cemented himself as the host who dared to say aloud what millions had been thinking.